know, I'm really starting to like this go-karting thing.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh, can I show you this cute dress I just got?
Yes, of course. Oh my goodness, it's so cute.
I just love shopping.
I love shopping too.
Oh my god.
Wait, did you guys say you like shopping?
Of
Yeah.
course.
Well, dude, I have the perfect place to do that at. ShopPayKara.com. At ShopPayKara.com, you can get free shipping on orders $200 or more. You can get anything you want, like MXC rims, gloves, rib vests, shoes, anything that you need, all at ShopPayKara.com.
Who is he talking to?
No idea.
But we're gonna have to check it out. Sounds like a great deal.
Sure does.
Cat food marketing. $9.99 a month.
Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go, come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing meeting till like 2 a.m. last night.
Come on, man.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Perico, it's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Perico, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher, magnesium, B12, B6,
Yeah, it's good.
B5, biotin, and 0 sugar? Pericazo! Try Perico, made with natural ingredients, organic caffeine, and supports your metabolism. Try the new official energy drink of Kart Chaser. Cat food marketing. $9.99 a month.
Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go. Come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing meeting till like 2 a.m. last night.
Come on, man.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Perico. It's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Perico, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher, magnesium, B12, B6,
Yeah, it's good.
B5, biotin, and 0 sugar? Pericazo! Try Perico, made with natural ingredients, organic caffeine, and supports your metabolism. Try the new official energy drink of Kart Chaser.
2026 Cup Kart South Series, February 20th through 22nd at Finish Line Karting. March 20th through 22nd at Daytona International Speedway, April 24th through 26th at Music City Karting, and May 29th through 31st at Bushnell Motorsports Park.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Racing in 2026, and welcome back to Cup Karts North America. We start off here in Jacksonville for the Winter Nationals. As always, my name is Caleb Vieska. Joining me alongside in the booth all weekend long, Mr. Justin Prince, who is with us over for the 9th edition of the CKNA Grand Nationals. First of all, Justin, great to have you back, and your first, if you will, one of your first regular season events here at CKNA, and this is where it all starts, the first of the big 4 national races that we have, and it all starts here in Jacksonville at our Winter Nationals. First of all, Jackson, a Happy New Year to you, a Happy New Year to everybody in the paddock and joining us from home.
Yes, thank you very much. It's going to be an interesting time here in Jacksonville, just 15 miles away from the downtown core, first of all. It's one of the more historic tracks in all the nation because it's been around since the 1960s, right? You have a lot of opportunity as a result here with this older style racetrack for drafting chances. It's going to be a fun time, I think, throughout this entire weekend. It's been a mainstay for a few years in terms of Cup Karts North America, and it's going to be interesting how these drivers fare out as the weekend progresses in what's going to be a very cold time, surprisingly, for Florida.
Yeah, it's definitely strange, if you will, abnormal to have such cold weather and this time of the year, especially in Florida. But again, temperatures, I believe they were down in the 27-degree area yesterday, Fahrenheit, that is, of course. And again, we're expecting that it's going to be changing. We talk about track conditions and all the different evolutions that can happen and all the different changes that can happen throughout the day as well, right? You start off really cold in the morning. This is really where it's going to start to heat up, and then we go racing all the way into the night. We have qualifying 3 heat races all on the schedule today. So it's going to be a long day of racing action here at Cup Karts North America for the Winter Nationals. But we start with our first qualifying session. The kit karts now out onto the racetrack, and 11 drivers total here, and they are out there on track with how they finished the happy hour session. They're all led by the 99 of Aubrey Babcock, who we saw out at the Grand Nationals just in October of 2025.
One of the drivers that looked very good at the time as well. It's going to be also interesting to see some of the errors that have looked strong throughout the weekend so far. Maverick Reddick, still one of the top drivers. It's been an army of CRG karts, though, I've noticed, where it's almost like this orange blob that you've seen together in a lot of the warm-ups, in particular this morning, all trying to work together on speed. So quite simply, for these kit karts, it's going to be interesting how some of them work together to try and make sure to get to the top of the charts here, as this is a racetrack where it's not so much of an easy just mash the gas and go track with some of the banking that's in the second half of the racetrack with the bowl sections.
Yeah, this is going to be, for the most part, should be flat out for these kit kart drivers as they work their way around this track. And it's all about momentum, right? Getting themselves pretty much as fast as they can around this track without losing all too much momentum as they work their way around. But again, we said it's going to be a very competitive field. First one to get in the time. Best time so far, the 75 of Maverick Reddick, who, when you look back to the Grand Nationals, was able to finish on the podium. P3 for, at the time, was 5 years old, now 6. You go back to Heckman as well. I believe William Heckman or Grant Heckman, one of the 2 Heckman brothers that took part. Could be William Heckman, if I'm not mistaken here, the 008. Aubrey Babcock there. And again, she's been fast all weekend long, arguably one of the drivers to beat. She was fastest in a couple of the practice sessions, and she's been up there on the timing chart. She's currently 3rd. And when you look back to the Grand Nationals, finished P13 in the main event. So you see that all the practice that's gone on over the offseason, everything to get back to this point to now put herself inside of the top 5 here. And again, home state of Florida for her as well here this weekend. So she puts herself inside of the top 5 for the 99. But as everybody goes around, still Reddick with the 53.013 to Heckman, to Bowden out of Louisiana, Babcock and Maxwell, your top 5.
Yeah, and it kind of emphasizes that CRG Army we've seen, at least at the top of the board here with the speed around here so far. Noticing in particular for Reddick, just able to get a little bit of slipstream, try and get some momentum built up to close out the qualifying run for the final time round as the white flank waves. Heckman, though, look at that. Top of the board, William Heckman, able to pick up speed. Maverick Reddick responding by a couple 1,000s quicker. 7 1,000s the difference It seems like the 75 and the double 8 really on the mark, so close in this qualifying session to set up track position for later.
Yeah, and it's going to be close in between those two drivers. Last year, they were both the youngest of the field here in the kid kart class. I believe 5 and 6 years old, or if not, both of them were 5. And now you look what a year does, a year of learning, a year of experience, puts them 1-2 at the moment of the first qualifying session of the year here at Cup Karts North America. And this is William Heckman as he's getting himself close to the finish line. He'll be the first to cross. Babcock going to cross the line now. She currently sits third. No improvement for Aubrey. Heckman to the top of the board. Here comes Reddick, though, across the line for the 75, and he does improve. A 52.907. Maverick Reddick on the pole in kid kart.
And I'm not surprised just with the fact that the Texas-based driver has been able to do that every single time we've seen him in our kart chaser throughout the year in particular. Get to the top of the board, be able to perform in major races, whether it's the regional or the national level. Him and Ekman going back and forth, but Babcock having a good track position amongst that top 3 here, Caleb.
Yeah, not bad. She's going to be starting on the inside line just right behind Maverick Reddick. Heckman's going to be on that outside with Sullivan Bowden and a couple of more as well. Becca Boudreaux, I believe, the other one that finished inside of the top 5. That's it for the first session of the day, and what a way to start. A couple of laps traded there. Coming up next, Senior Heavy gets set to hit the racetrack for their qualifying session. 13 drivers total with us here in that Senior Heavy class, with Noah Rivers, the number 1 out of Macon, Georgia. On the Comet Eagle, Sean Chiarello, Kobe Zababoda, Brady Atwood, Ronnie Cleese, Brad Davis, Ryan Curtin, Adriano Yanuzzi, Logan Stevens, Christopher Mitchell, Owen Lloyd, John Young, and Chloe McKenzie, the 13 drivers that are getting set to take the green flag here, Justin.
Yeah, and I'm very curious in particular of Owen Lloyd, because whatever we've seen Lloyd this past year, seems like one of the drivers that's able to perform, one of the drivers that's picked up some wins in the spring nats, for example, one of the drivers that's been able to perform in general across the country. I think he's going to be one of the drivers to keep an eye on for at least qualifying. Was the top of the board of the Happy Hour group as well in the 42-1s for the benchmark. It's going to be interesting, but the main thing to consider here is how these drivers perform in the respective groupings. Remember, these times were set apart of those happy hours yesterday for the respective times, so it's going to be where how that track progression is going to pair out, maybe potentially between the bottom half and the top half of these groupings.
And we'll see. Owen Lloyd is, I think, one of the best names you could have picked out of the hat. When you look back at last year in 2025, he was actually the driver that was able to win here in Jacksonville. Started off the year on a high, was able to get that win. And you look on throughout the year as well, right? He's been a driver that's been up at the front here at Cup Karts North America and will continue to do for the South Georgia karting driver in his red MGM. But we get ready to get going with the bottom half of the Senior Heavies here. I believe we're sending them all out as they go out. So yeah, the entire group going out. So it looks like could be 2 here. So only 13 drivers. So I believe we are going to get 2 groups as the number 3 leads them out of Chiarello. And we start the first lap of Senior Heavy qualifying here.
Yeah, and quite simply, let's take a look at some of the track video from past years when it came to the Winter Nats. One of the things I've noticed, and when talking with Xander Combs as well, is high-tempo racetrack. It's one of those old-school tracks, as he described it, since this is technically a part of the city of Jacksonville, amongst the various parks as well. But the main thing to consider is it's going to be one of those tracks where, based on the tape and based in past records, you want to be at least in the top 5 at minimum, because it's going to be so difficult to just make passes. It's not a wide track. You have a bit of a long straightaway to set up passes before the bowl section, but there's so many areas here too, Caleb, where in the end it's very technical and very likely going to be just single file. So for quite simply, if you want a good chance to perform in this event this weekend, you've got to perform in qualifying. You've got to give yourself a chance to be able to be in that main pack once things potentially spread apart here on this track around this half-mile facility.
Yeah, and to that point exactly, right, Justin? Every single corner is followed by a corner in the opposite direction. So you have the bull, right, to turn to the right, followed by a left-hander. So it'll be a little bit difficult to put yourself in a position to try and make a move with the amount, it's a left to right corner or a right to left as they go through here. And they're all fast-paced, so you're going to need a pusher to try and get by here. As we follow along with Brady Atwood, he goes top of the timing charts with a 42.418. And Atwood on the MGN, number 6, has been competitive, very competitive, with a couple of championships to his name in 24, I believe, in one of the regional divisions of Cup Karts North America. And then we saw him last year at the Grands. We saw him at the senior shootout back in 24 as well. And here in 2026, looking to start the year off on a high. And he currently holds that. Ronnie Cleese, though, to the top, the number 7, with an improvement of only 0.02 of a second, of 42.414 for Cleese. The number 7 is fastest with 2 laps to go.
Keep in mind, these drivers going to have to pick up at least a couple more tenths if they want a chance at the pole time. I think that seems to be benchmark. Is Cleese one of the drivers locally for the area who's picked up some championships over the past few years, with WKA in 2022 with the junior championship, a CKNA winning experience. So it's going to be something pretty decent in the race. It's just going to be the matter of how it's going to actually slot up here overall, as the Coyote chassis machine Cleese looks like he just wants to be able to work on its own as the session gets ready to close on up here for these drivers towards the end of their session for the top half, or the bottom half, should say.
Well, here we go. Checkered flag in the air now. First driver gets it. Ronnie Cleese, Atwood. They're further down the order. We'll see when they get it. But again, the two of them have been trading fast times. I think Atwood's going to be one of the first to come across the line if he didn't already. I think he did. So Atwood only second by 0.02 of a second. Ronnie Cleese was fastest. John Chiarello, Christopher Mitchell, John Young, Chloe McKenzie, Noah Rivers, Cody Zavaboda, Brad Davis, and Ryan Curtin. The 10 drivers, or actually a couple with no time. So Noah Rivers, Zavaboda, Brad Davis, and Ryan Curtin, no times on the board. So the rest getting ready to come out. Like Owen Lloyd, like you spoke of just a little bit earlier, or at the start of their qualifying session, getting ready to lead this field out onto the racetrack.
And remember, the rubber put down, the more laps they turn, the more rubber buildup you would expect potentially here. But also, your top drivers here, you know, see, keep in mind, was within a couple of thousandths in the warm-up session and as well in happy hour yesterday. You know, see, going to be someone to follow on with. Multiple times on the national podium. Has also picked up WKA Grand Nationals appearance. It's going to be an interesting time, especially for the 41, since he's already been hyping up in the past few weeks his Spec Beyond testing that he's been working forward and really been looking forward to for how his future for his racing career in the state of Florida, also with this being a home race from Clearwater.
We got a lot of names and a lot of competition here when you look at four-cycle racing in North America. Again, you talk about Cup Karts North America, the biggest four-cycle racing series in the world. You talk about the Grands year after year. Justin, you were able to live the Grands finally this year. The amount of drivers, the amount of people that are there, you know, fence line to fence line, that place gets absolutely packed at Newcastle Motorsports Park at the end of the year. And again, that seems so far from now, with this being the first race really in 2026. There's a lot of time to get down to October for the Grand Nationals. And again, it all starts in this qualifying session for a lot of these drivers. So it'll be exciting. And this is all, again, the road to October, the road to Newcastle Motorsports Park. As, again, they're getting ready to stagger them up. Pushing, again, for those of you at home, just a little refresher on qualifying rules here at Cup Karts North America. Not a lot of push, not a lot of make front bumper to rear bumper contact with another driver here, or your fastest lap will be deleted for that. So Again, this is why they stagger them. Drivers can rearrange themselves, but you don't want to be touching anybody else out on the racetrack.
Yeah, and it's kind of just quite simply, you don't want to end up having it to where it's just a simple draft train. The biggest pack goes to the top, right? It also gets you an opportunity to set a rhythm. That's not the way to start things off, is it? Go out of pit lane and immediately put it in the grass.
Yeah, not at all. That was the 41 there of Adriano Iannuzzi, who found himself in the grass just in front of our camera there. So he's going to get going, but that position that he did have behind Owen Lloyd now is just Owen Lloyd. So he's gonna be behind other traffic out there on the racetrack. So unfortunate for Iannuzzi. For Owen Lloyd, he's going to be content with the amount of room that he has to stretch his legs out here in front of the rest of the pack.
He's got a whole half of the racetrack. He can end up building a house at this point at part of the racetrack and have it in his own backyard to be able to work with. Quite simply, this is one of those situations where you kind of just take it for what you may and see how the rhythm fares out. The gap is massive. It's going to be a matter, though, of how some of the others work together. A couple, I think, have some draft, but obviously Lloyd is going to have to just rely on raw speed, which I think we know he has. It's just going to be a matter of how it settles in here over the course of this session.
We talked about Lloyd already winning here last year in 2025 at what I believe was the second edition of the Winter Nationals. First national event of the Winter Nationals, I believe, was back in New Orleans at NOLA Motorsports Park in 2024, if not 23. Has been going on for quite some time. But here we go. As we get going, look at Owen Lloyd, already 2/10 from the pole position here, Justin.
And as we were expecting, the second group going to be quicker as times go on, since these are the fastest drivers from those happy hour times. Top of the board, simply just electrifyingly quick, but using a lot of the runoff space I'm noticing also. There are a couple areas around here where there's a bit of concrete rather than just simple pavement. There's that little extra bit of bite that they're trying to find here as they spread apart this track to be able to try and maximize the speed here. Everybody else is still needing to pick up a few more tenths of a second to be able to get a pickup here, with Lloyd just completely full kilter to start things off this session.
Yeah, there you go. You see him in the pole, able to take up just as much track space as he can. And this corner here, which is turn 2 on the runoff here, you talk about that, right? The concrete runoff to asphalt. You won't feel it all too much, but again, just a couple of the nuances of this track. But Lloyd just blistering quick, like you said there, Justin. Already 2/10 clear of Ronnie Cleese, who's in 7th. Curtin, though, going to move up to 4th for the 37. That's quickly going to change. Zavaboda to Logan Stevens now, the 53 on the Comet Eagle, up to 2nd.
Nicely done for Stevens, who was towards the edge of the top 5 in the happy hour session. But already, Lloyd zipping his way through the qualifying session, got quicker every single time, picked up by a 10th compared to yesterday. But these drop packs here, what we're talking about, where would some of these drivers go? Iannuzzi in particular is going to be the question mark, leading the train here of a couple of these karts to try and get back up to the front. Just able to get at least a 5th, but Ronnie Cleese's time was able to hold up over a majority of this group. That is big for the 7.
Yeah, not bad for the number 7 of Ronnie Cleese to put himself inside of the top 5 on the what was the slower group of the 2. Brady Atwood as well with a good show. And looks like those 2 drivers maybe just didn't have the best of happy hour sessions yesterday to end the day. But Owen Lloyd puts himself on the pole position in senior heavy. Take a quick pause from the action, quick commercial break from our side. When we return, more action from Cup Karts North America live for the Winter Nationals.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Join us for the biggest kart racing convention of the year, the 40th OVKA Kart Racing Trade Show and Swap Meet, Saturday, January 24th, Roberts Center, Wilmington, Ohio. Whether you're into sprint karting, dirt and oval racing, road racing, unlimiteds, or vintage karting, there are deals here for you. Shop our 60,000 square foot show floor, filled with the karts, parts, and supplies you need. Network with kart racers of all disciplines from across the country. Get insights from experts at our performance seminars. Visit our Intro to Kart Racing open house to get started in racing. Visit OVKA.com. Vendor registration is now open. OVKA.com.
Hey, what's up, Caleb?
What's up, Brandon?
You sound defeated. A long day at the office?
Yeah, got stuck at a cat food marketing meeting for like 3 hours. I don't know a thing about cat food, and I don't even work in marketing. And then I got sent on a coffee run like I was some sort of intern. Then at the end of the day, when I want to go get gas, I just realized everything is so darn expensive nowadays, man.
Yeah, you got that right.
Like, do you have any idea how much we're spending on Netflix?
That's like 20 bucks a month.
Do you know how much we're spending on cable?
That's like 50 bucks a month.
But you know what isn't expensive?
Tell me.
Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all of the American karting action live from coast to coast. Subscribe and become a member today.
More qualifying action hits the racetrack now as our juniors get ready to settle their grids as one driver goes around. That's the 144 there that goes for a spin just in front of our camera of Anderson. That driver's able to get back going again. But again, two groups here for the juniors with a little bit of a different field this year as well, right? When you talk about the sportsmen's, a lot of those drivers did move up into the junior ranks. You see a little bit of some smaller drivers in this class, in this field. Now the same as the kid karts moving up to cadet, cadets moving up to sportsmen, now sportsmen moving up to juniors. So we're able to get going now on what's could be even a 3-group split here, Justin. So indeed, it'll be the bottom third, middle third, and top third that hit the racetrack. So this is the bottom third of drivers out there now.
And keep in mind, there were originally a couple drivers that actually got DQs from the tech lane that put themselves in this group, in Julius Philgame and Zach Hensel. So they're going to be hoping for a little bit of a bounce back, to say the very least, to make sure their karts are in spec. But you have a couple drivers like Samuel Weir to keep an eye on who are in this group. We're keeping an eye on the 233. A few others that are looking to try and move up. Keep in mind, some of these drivers looking to try and find at least 2 seconds of improvement. That's a lot of time to pick up from your happy hour compared to qualifying to have a chance to have your time stick for the pole time, Caleb.
Yeah, it's definitely a good chunk that you can take out. And that's people back in the tent for the parents, the coaches, everybody else in between. Try and close that time just that little bit more as we follow along one of the Formula K IPKs as we go around. That's the 223 of Warrior there on your screen. Harlan McNeil currently the fastest to Samuel Warrior at 223, who just went up to second. Mays, the 13, is up to third as one driver off the racetrack there just on the exit of turn number 2. And that corner has been a difficult one for drivers already today here, Justin.
Yeah, we've seen a couple people go off already, as we talked about. It's not an easy part of the racetrack to settle in, but today it's about, for some of these drivers, making sure you limit the mistakes if you want to be able to be set up for the finals tomorrow. Have a chance for the big points. McNeil actually picked up some karting championships recently. Noah's family posts a lot when it comes to his karting escapades past year. McNeil doing a good job out of this group, at least, to have a big separation, but the time is going to be hard to stay up for much of the group. It's about gaining experience, though, as you move up the ranks, even at the junior levels, compared to some of the others. Be able to build that repertoire as you gain more and more track time in your career in major events like this.
Yeah, McNeil currently with a 43.234. Villain game currently second. Frey, Warrior, Anderson, Mays, to Hensel, Coacher, Platts, H-Coacher, and Howe, who's actually not in. So only 10 drivers total, but checkered flag in the air. Harlan McNeil looking to go uncontested. He put another 3/10 on the field on Julius filling game, and as quickly as that, Evan Frey goes faster. So does Julius. Get himself up to second. So Harlan fell back to third. Going to be a third best for McNeil. And again, this was the bottom third. So still 2 more groups to go here, Justin.
Yeah, there's still a lot of fast drivers to talk about. You have in particular that second group features a lot of big names that we've seen do well, at least in my opinion, like Tegan Snyder, like Levi Meador, like Hudson Jack Irwin. They're going to be in Group 2. But Group 1, you had Evan Frey lead this respective pack. Filling game, getting a good time up on the board to get in front of McNeil at least after the tech issues from yesterday's happy hour session. We're in Hensel amongst the top 5 here, but they are still a little bit of ways off the benchmark that was showcased earlier on in the weekend and for the warm-up session earlier in the day.
Yeah, we'll see how they stack up. They hit the racetrack. Last year, the juniors were the class that was fortunate enough to take part of the out-of-the-box challenge. And the winner of that was Derek Wargo, who now finds himself racing up in the senior ranks this year, I believe, joining us here this weekend, racing in senior medium. So we'll take a look at the newly crowned out-of-the-box challenge winner, and Derek Wargo, when he goes racing later on today, or qualifying, if you will, at the end of the run order. So just getting confirmation here, running light and medium here this weekend. But nonetheless, the middle third of the juniors getting set to go out. And again, this track being one of the tighter ones on the calendar this year at CKNA, giving everybody ample room to work their way around. I believe Warga was also the junior driver that won here last year, if you won 2025.
Yeah, he's going to be an interesting one to watch for later on. I think you can argue absolutely here, to say the very least. You mentioned experience. You are right. He did pick up the win over William Richard and Jake Bieber last year. But obviously, talking about juniors, you have different waves of drivers coming out through the ranks. It's going to be an interesting day with some of the drivers like Krasinski, like the Moles, like Jet Price that's up there, for example, and some of the names that are in the third grouping. But this middle pack, as said, has a lot of drivers we've seen do pretty well for themselves and be contenders for top 5s and top 10s overall. So there is a strong chance of this pack here to be able to set some decent times, to be able to measure up compared to that bottom third group coming up as here we go. Able to get a lot of separation already, at least 10 kart lengths per driver here to be able to start off this middle third.
There we go. First couple of corners, just getting yourself up to temperature, getting yourself within the right window, and you see everybody just kind of weaving on that straightaway. And these Vega tires do fire up relatively quickly. But this is probably the coldest conditions that they do run in throughout the year. Charlotte being another event later on for the Spring Nationals. Whenever we go to the Motor Speedway, that's going to be one of the events that is going to be quite chilly, if you will. Similar conditions to this, just a little warmer, if you will. But here are the first couple of drivers. Jewel Hudman in the 37, Clayton Mole in the 852. Levi Meter, Hudson Jack Erlin, like you mentioned, Beckman, and more. Looking to make a dent on the timing chart here with the drivers that already went out previously. But we get going. Kind of surprising as well to see Hudson Jack Erlin in the second group. After, again, that's a name that we did say a lot at the Grand Nationals just back in October, Justin.
Yeah, exactly. My point there was actually second in the final warm-up session earlier this morning, just behind Jet Price in warm-up A. So I think absolutely Jack Irwin, he's able to get a clean lap down, is going to be able to jump back up here, be able to maybe be amongst the top 10. I think the difficult thing, though, is it's about finding the right spot here from him. You see right now, has clean space. In fact, has 316 a meter, or just working behind, picking up a little bit of drafts. Jack Irwin needs to be able to step on it here. Started off with the 43.1s. Remember that benchmark going to be a little bit higher up the second time around with them full speed. Actually sees him pick up a near half a second. In fact, more than half a second. That's a huge pickup.
Yeah, that's a great improvement for the 316 of Levi Meter. And again, we saw him a whole lot last year over at the Texas Spin Racing Series. I believe one of his first start, if not second or third starts here at Cup Karts North America, working his way down here with Reed Motorsports. The 316, the 214 right there as well. That's Hudson Jack Erlin. Talk about Frey, who's just a little bit further back. But again, these two drivers are in great position there. And you saw the difference in line there, right? It almost looked like Levi Meter just lost a little bit of time, going in a little bit too deep into the bowl. Lost that little bit of momentum. In comparison to Hudson Jack Erlin, just nice and smooth, out of the bowl, into the bowl as well. Gets himself that last little bit that he does need, and Meter was even able to go better. Race Beckman, though, in the 55, currently fastest. And there's Beckman on what looks to be a Margay Ignite, a 42.353, and he's just right behind Levi Meter and Hudson Jack Erlin as they work their way through.
Yeah, impressive right now from Beckman in particular. You can see just trying to get the arc down, get a diamond for the apex off, in through the final corners where you go to the left or right, coming out of the mini bowl section. But Jack Irwin able to get to the top of the board, 42.2, 10th up. Big separation for some of the drivers in the pack. But your top three in this group, all within just about a 1.1 second. Or my math is off there, my apologies. 0.11 seconds, I'm trying to say.
Well, it's early in the morning, Justin. Don't blame you there. Yeah, 10th of a second there in between Hudson Jack Erlin, Levi Meter, Beckman as well, not too far back, a couple of thousandths to Evan Frey, Tegan Schneider, Cooper Mole, Hayden Jewell, Max Hudman, Elon Dwyer, and Kyle Masterson. 10 drivers inside of the top 10. So we should have the top third getting ready to hit the racetrack here in a couple of moments.
Yeah, this top third is going to be with that benchmark. Here's the interesting thing about where these times have gone for some of the drivers right now. These top times will put them amongst the top 5 compared to yesterday's happy hour session. So that's where that benchmark is going to be here. Quite simply, if you're Rosinski, if you're Bowen Company, you've got to be able to get yourself into a focused spot here. Again, Caleb, to be able to make sure you replicate what you did. Rosinski, I think, has been quick throughout the morning so far. This is going to be a stacked grouping of drivers once again. that are going to be amongst this pack, and I wouldn't be surprised if a majority of these middle third times end up staying above the vast majority of this top third.
Yeah, we'll see all to play for here for these junior drivers as now engines get fired. And again, a strong contention for the junior drivers here this weekend. 36 drivers total, I believe. Well, the second biggest class, with senior light showing up with 38, senior medium with 35. So 36 for the juniors, but good number of classes. 192 total karts registered here this weekend, Justin.
It's a massive amount, to say the very least, because coming into the week, it was around 178 total. That's obviously ballooned up. And that's partly with people coming in, but the big thing has been, it's not as simple as, oh, it's just people coming out from Florida or from the Southeast. No. A lot of have made the trek from Canada, notice. As far as New Brunswick, it's some of the cases. A lot of Quebec-based drivers, a few Ontario, for example, from CKNA Canada. Plus you have those in the East. That's a little bit more west side into the grass, as quite simply, this event attracting a lot of people who are quite simply hungry for karting, so long as they're not going to eat the grass while they do it.
Oh, and there's another one. And again, this first corner, first exit on the pits. Again, cold track, cold tires, cold conditions, if you will. Just showing it be difficult for some of these drivers to get out of the pits. That was the 8 in the VLR. So that was Ben Howie for Bobby Krug Racing Services. He found himself just going off the racetrack. But like you said here, Justin, a lot of people from various different places up from the Midwest working their way down to Florida to race. Again, you talk about Daytona Kart Week being last weekend throughout the start of the week as well. And again, a lot of people just want to come out and race, right? For yourself, you know, being from Canada, nice and cold, not much racing going on, winter, a lot of tracks closed due to snow. So going down to Florida to just try and get some seat time, try and, you know, getting that itch back to get out there on the racetrack. That's why you see so many people work their way down here to Florida, especially being the first event of the year. How could you miss it, right? Start the new year, spend New Year's at a racetrack. There's nothing better than that, spending New Year's at a racetrack and starting 2026 the best way possible. Racing in you know, one of the biggest 4-cycle series in the world, if not the biggest. So good to have everybody here with us and joining us for the opening round. The first race of the year, if I'm not mistaken. I know social media has been big about first people to do anything in 2026. These are the first people to race in 2026 on Kart Chaser. So super cool to see it. Super cool to be here, a part of it. Our first time covering the Winter Nationals.
It's definitely been fun so far, to say the least. I know it's very early, but I mean, quite simply, it's an opportunity to be able to start off with the right foot. It's an opportunity to be able to drive that itch of being able to be in a car. It's that driving that feeling of not having to put snow tires on your go-kart, stuff like that. Quite simply, it's a great event, and it's been a staple out for a few years now, to say the least, for CKNA, for coming out to Jacksonville to be able to race at this track. I think quite simply, it's going to be interesting where the battles fare out overall, but so far, the tone's been set for a couple of these classes with the orders. We'll see where the tone's set now as we continue on with the next couple hours more qualifying coverage.
So here we go. That looked like the white flag that did fly there. And again, a lot of drivers haven't made too much improvement. Carter Barkas in the number 10. He's the first one up, and here we go. Wyatt Fink, the first one to make a dent, goes to the top of the timing charts. That's the 166. As here we go with Barkas. Sawyer Chambers, I believe one of his first times on a CRG. We're used to seeing him in an Intrepid, but himself and Barkas trade positions there. And Chambers don't exactly see him inside of the top 10 at the moment. And again, that's a driver who fought at the front. He's down in 19th as we cross the line now. Barkus goes up to third. Chambers only 14th here as the rest of the pack gets set to work their way through all the way to the top. The 815 of Jet Price, almost from the bottom, outside of the top 20 it looked like. And he skyrocketed up to second for Jet Price. 2/10 off of Wyatt Fink, though. The 166 puts 2/10 on the field. A 41.981 goes to the pole position in junior.
A lot of surprises there because I was not expecting so many of the drivers from the top third to not even get past halfway in the field. You're talking about names like Ford that were up in the top group. You're talking about drivers like Goulet that seen shuffle back. A lot of big names that started off with speed to the back. But we're going to take a bit of a step away for a moment as we get set for more action. You're watching the CK Winter Nationals from Jacksonville.
Hey, what's up, Caleb?
What's up, Brandon?
You sound defeated. Long day at the office?
Yeah, got stuck at a cat food marketing meeting for like 3 hours. I don't know a thing about cat food, and I don't even work in marketing. And then I got sent on a coffee run like I was some sort of intern. Then at the end of the day, when I want to go get gas, I just realized everything is so darn expensive nowadays, man.
Yeah, you got that right.
Like, do you have any idea how much we're spending on Netflix?
That's like 20 bucks a month.
Do you know how much we're spending on cable?
That's like 50 bucks a month.
But you know what isn't expensive?
Tell me.
Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all of the American karting action live from coast to coast. Subscribe and become a member today.
Welcome back to Jacksonville as our legends get ready to set their starting grids for later on today. Now, quick look at the schedule for those of you watching on from home. We welcome you into 2026, wish you a happy new year, and give you a little look at what we have. 11:45 Eastern time, we're going to have a lunch break. And then we go into heat racing action starting at about 12:30 p.m. And again, that'll be behind the paywall for KC Premium members only $9.99 a month. You can become a KC Premium member and watch all the racing action live from coast to coast, from California to Florida to North Carolina, everywhere in the U.S. We're going to be busy all year long, bringing you all the racing action. There's racing almost every single weekend, Justin, for us, and everywhere in the country. So it'll be exciting. We wish you guys could join us for all of it. And I wish you guys can join us as well later on in the day for some heat racing action. And again, only $9.99 a month. Become a KC Premium member today. Don't miss any of the racing action live as we look ahead to our legends here now. A good showing for the oldest of drivers here with us this weekend. 18 karts total. Ronnie Kleiss, you talk about him, number 7. Todd Barron was entered, I believe, going to be joining us here today as well in the number 11, and a couple of more, which this group split into 2 with only 18 drivers making up the field here, Justin.
Yes, and keep in mind, there is an interesting name to keep an eye on in this group. He's at the top of your board right now, Niken at the 99. Paul Niken is one of the drivers who we've seen in Apex South competition. That was a contender there as well. That's known for racing in the region. Quite simply, was one of 3 different drivers that also received disqualification from the tech lane from the happy hour session, along with Ron Clydes, that was also up there on pace. Oh, look at that, someone off into the trees.
That's a big off for somebody back there. See if we can get a look when they come by. But again, Ron Cleese was the driver that won here last year when it came to Jacksonville. James Insko finished second to Tim Hannon, Eli Yanko, and Doug Cook. Your top 5 when it was all said and done. But again, Cleese, talk about those DQs that have been going on. And again, got to do the pre-tech before the happy hour. And some drivers didn't pass that post-happy hour inspection. That's why they find themselves in this bottom half. But again, we've seen drivers do it, right? You saw it earlier today in senior heavy with the amount of drivers that were able to put themselves into the mix so early on. As one driver's into the wall, just on the exit of the bowl, about second to last corner here. Or one of the bowls, if you will. Okay, that's a big off for one driver there, Justin.
Yeah, a couple of different drivers taking some excursions, to say the very least, and that ends up breaking your rhythm for the entire lap, because one of those areas we just seen that is where the corner exit is, in particular where you have to take the line, so that may compromise a couple drivers on the exit until getting cleared up there. But for Cleese, able to may potentially set things up for the trap, was second quickest on their time before the tech lane. Wrong time to reach the traffic though. Had to blend out of the way to open up the door for the 7.
And we'll see that held up Ronnie Clydes at all as he gets ready to cross the line. Paul Aiken still fastest. So Ronnie Clydes, no improvement. And again, looks like, yeah, that pass may have just hurt his time a little bit. Chad Miller across the line in third to Anthony Harwin, Larry Pike. Your top 5 in the class. But Paul Aiken, a 42.121, going to be the time to beat, as the likes of Tim Hannon, Todd Barron, and more get set to hit the racetrack.
Yeah, and remember, drivers like Barron, very stellar drivers when it comes to the national ranks. We've seen Barron be a contender so many times. We've seen, in particular, him in Apex South just a couple weeks ago be a top contender for the podium spots there. So we have Eli Yanko also going to be someone to be able to be really contentious for on speed amongst the 42.5s in the happy hour session. But the driver to keep an eye on in particular was the top official time, Timothy Clark. It's going to be the matter of where does Clark settle on down in this session to be able to try and make the time stick. One of the many competitors we see a part of this swing based out of Orlando that's looked very stellar over the course of the weekend, and every session has been staying at the top of the timing sheets.
Yeah, a lot of drivers have been, again, uber competitive here. You look at more names, Brent Estes, another driver that'll be quick. Eli Yanko, you talk about him coming off a great result when we were out at the Grand Nationals in this Legends class. Finished on the podium, P5. Ryan Cassidy, though, nobody was better than him. He was able to double up in Masters and in Legends. He's not with us this weekend. But again, that was the last that we saw of Cup Karts North America. Tim Schutt finished second at the Grand Nationals in Legends with James Insko, Scott Falcone, and Yanko. I previously mentioned Doug Cook, another driver that we saw finish in the 6th spot. But again, that all changes here. New day, new year, new race. As we wait for the track to clear here momentarily before engines do indeed get fired.
Again, I think the main thing to consider is just making sure the barrier's in the right spot, but also making sure we follow to the schedule. Very strict on the times, we've noticed throughout this entire time so far this weekend. These officials, very much sticklers to making sure they follow every little button of that schedule and make sure there isn't too much of a difference on those timing sheets to make sure everyone knows where they exactly need to be here. Quite simple. It's about coordination, right? And you see the signal coming out for the 1 minute. Looks like these drivers now getting the chance to fire up the engine to get ready here.
Right on cue. And right on schedule so far this morning. A long day. We'll be racing all the way into the night here. Just for a little look. 8:27 when the last of the senior medium heat races is set to go out. And again, splitting those up due to the number of entries here with 30 plus in senior medium, senior light. That being said, we get ready to go. Engines firing at the 1 minute mark, and get ready to stagger them up here.
Yeah, but the main thing I think to keep an eye on here is, will the times be able to get up to where Nikon is particular, 42.1. That's been a difficult time to be able to beat this entire weekend in particular. So I think it might be near untouchable for the 99 unless there's a perfect draft here lined up for a couple of these karts here to have a true shot here to rip this away.
Well, here we go. The top third gets ready to qualify in Legends. And we talked about the drivers here. We talked about Todd Barron already and a couple of more that are working their way out there. We'll bring all the names to you as soon as they cross that timing pylon. But again, 18 drivers total here in the Legends class. Drivers from all over joining us here this weekend. Again, their first race back since, if you didn't take part in Daytona Kart Week, then it could have been all the way back to the Grand Nationals for some drivers to work their way through. Clark, Yanko, there on your screen, works his way around to Perkins in the 51. They're working their way through, and I believe James Perkins, another one of the drivers that finds himself what looks to be a prototype maybe from some reports that I was getting. Sounds like a Brava prototype for them. And again, what we saw earlier today in one of the junior classes, pretty fast throughout the day as we keep an eye on it here. Time starts to come in. Clark already making impressions of 478. Yanko up to third. Jeff Chambers, no improvement. James Perkins was up to fifth. That changed as Tim Hannon in the number 0. And then Todd Barron in the number 11 up to fourth.
Yeah, you see just how some of the drivers have been able to find drafting partners here. Hannon, it's going to be a very lonely time here at this point. Don't think there's going to be much room to be able to get back up to the top here. Some of the yards just paired up. But for those groupings of two, they're able to at least get something lined up. Give themselves a shot here. Give themselves that extra straight line speed. Look at the shuffle now. Hannon, despite being on his own, is actually quicker than all the drafting packs. That's interesting to just be able to jump up the second without anyone to pull off of. And it just shows Sometimes people just feel comfortable when they have clean space. And then in our cases, you put up your hands and say, can I please go? But there's no place to go.
Yeah, James Perkins looks like he wants to go through there. And again, the more that he's kind of held up could even benefit Hannon a little bit here as he closes in on them. And again, speaking a little bit just off the air earlier, it's all about timing that draft perfectly. And James Perkins just let off to give himself a little bit more room to set in a lap, which I think is going to benefit Tim Hannon even more. That is if Paul Nakin doesn't improve. The 99 has been fast, a 42.121. Hannon needs to find about 2/10 with a .191 gap back. I mean, you talk about Cleese down in third, Clark, Perkins, Yanko, Chalmers. There's Todd Barron working his way through. But we'll see if James Perkins' decision to kind of let off a little bit, that benefited Hannon. You see him visibly closing in. Nakin, no improvement for him. Tim Hannon across the line now, and there it goes. That was it, a 42.058 for Tim Hannon. The number 0 with the draft from James Perkins, and the 51 puts himself on the pole position through the heat races.
And for the first time really all weekend, someone able to take away a time from the 99. But Klein's able to hold on in the top 3 also. That's going to be interesting for the CKNA South champion. See where things stack up in the races themselves. Going to be interesting with how this tempo is fared out for others like Clark and Perkins. But for others, it's going to be a move up. Like Larry Pike, for example, down 14th. One of the drivers going to be keeping an eye on the races.
The cadets now out onto the racetrack as one driver going around. Looks like Beckley Anderson, a Reed Motorsports CRG, going around. And as we talked a little bit earlier on in the broadcast here, Justin, we talked about drivers moving up in this class. Mateo Romeo, one of the drivers who we saw out at the CKNA Grand Nationals, who was actually the winner in Kit Kart, now moves himself up into Cadet, making his debut here on a similar, pretty much the same chassis he was on back in his Kit Kart days, which was back to last year, but the 93, making his first start in Cadet racing action here. And he's getting set to qualify, just a little bit different, just a little bit more speed. Now taking that restrictor off, putting the Cadet slide in. And this will be his first start, first time taking part of a Cadet race here for the 93.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting where things stack up now, especially knowing he's got drivers like Spencer Height he's going to have to face, like Maddox Knives, who's also what to keep an eye on with a career. The competition level is going to be pretty fierce, to say the very least, and the question's going to be, quite simply, can he keep up with himself in terms of the higher level? And as you know, Gail moving up the ranks, you end up heading the potential of those different competitive levels and different drivers that you have to prove yourself against. And if it's about trying to improve and to be able to compete against those best of the best compared to your Kit Kart days or in your other class days to have a chance here. And right now, Romeo letting on the second, as right now Tom Gagnon able to jump to the top of the board to start.
Again, when you talk about rookies, talk about another one here of the 23 of Maddox Nieves. Another one of the drivers moving up. He finished second. Finished second at the Grand Nationals last year, so joining us here this weekend, joining us here for this race. He's another one of the rookies that finds himself here. But as they stack up, Mateo Romeo currently fastest in this group, 43.145. Tom Gagnon currently second to Hank Lai, Beckley Anderson, Joshua Pochlapek fifth, Alex Schomer, Mangrum and Moore, Ruben Greer, I believe not out there yet. But again, only 6 drivers out on track as they continue to battle for position. That's Gagnon in that purple cart, just right behind Nieves.
Yeah, right now, I will say this. Mayo doing an impressive job, at least to start things off on the tempo here. But remember, the top times from yesterday were 7/10 up in the 42.2s. Those were after a few laps of build-up for a lot of those carts, around 4 or 5 laps in. So for Romeo, it's going to be the question, will this stand up to give him a decent shot for later on today after being the 8th quickest in happy hour yesterday?
Checkered flag in the air now. Mateo Romeo uncontested in his group of 42.907 to Lai. Looked like maybe Gagnon dropped the tire there just on the air. It's a lot of smoke coming out there, and it looks like, well, first of all, that rear bumper is dragging. That was a lot of smoke coming out of the 09's machine as he was getting ready to close off the session. And that could be a number of things. That late in the session, I don't want to assume that was a clutch, but that was a lot of smoke coming out of the engine side of Gagnon's cart. That being said, though, your top 5 include Beckley Anderson and Joshua Pochlapek to round up your top 5. Second group with the likes of Ruben Greer, Spencer Heighton Moore, getting set to hit the racetrack. Well, the second half of our cadets get set to qualify and get set to figure out our starting grid order when we get into the heat races, the first one that is, as we get ready to get going. And again, that group was split, so it should have been a 7-7 split. Thereabout. Looks like we had 6 drivers in that first group. We might have 8 in the second group, with it looks to be 14 drivers total. And again, we talked about one of the Heckman brothers moving up this year. that driver being in the 222 in this class. But green flag in the air. Spencer Height, the driver that leads them all out there on the Nitro kart. Be the first one with quite the ample track room for him. The same can be said for just drivers further back. Talk about Ruben Greer in the 020. He finished on the podium at the Grand Nationals as well. Height had a good weekend when we were out there as well. So, again, a good number of names out there. This cadet class was won by Hudson Howard, Jackson Reynolds finished second. Ruben Greer, Austin Taylor, and Yusuf Adi were your top 5 at the end of the Grand Nationals back in October. And Spencer Height was just outside of the podium. See what he could do. There's Greer, just a little bit further back. But here we go. First couple laps starting to come up to full song.
Yeah, was able to jump up to second to start things off, but for those who kept an eye on Kart Chaser coverage over an Apex South competition, they know that career as a contender there over at NOLA. Was able to slice and dice pretty well. In fact, was a top contender in all the heat races plus the final to be able to contend out in Louisiana. Just trying to carry the momentum once again this weekend. So for him right now, though, going to require a bit of pickup because he's towards that middle of the pack right now on times. Nieves still streaking at the top. Look at Heckman, though, able to jump to the 42.7s to jump to the top of the board.
Yeah, that was a great lap out of Grant Heckman to get himself up to the first spot. Maddox Nieves as well. He's up to second. And again, that was a rookie that I was referencing to in that first group when we were following along with Mateo Romeo, Mason Poole, Hank Lai, Cooper DePontes currently 6th to Spencer Height, Tom Gagnon currently 8th to Greer, who's down in 9th. So we haven't seen much from Ruben Greer yet. And there it is. Spoke a little bit too soon. He's the 3rd. Maddox Nieves and Heckman continue to trade times. Nieves got it for a second, and a 2/10 improvement for Grant Heckman puts him at the top. There's a response from Despontes up to 5th as Poole quickly takes that away in the 98. So again, a lot of drivers just finding time just at different times throughout different laps. We'll see how it goes, though. Last couple starting to come our way here, I believe. Checkered flag getting set to come out here, Justin.
Here it comes, in fact, right here. Height, not as high as I thought there, to say the very least, but Heckman able to streak up to the 42.1s, build up a few more tenths of a buffer with the rest of this field. Heckman's speed on his own might give him a chance to be able to break away, and that seems to be one of the critical things we've talked about is, can you set the tone, Caleb, and be able to position yourself to be able to control the pack and maybe get a buffer at a track where you might see some of those groups splinter.
Well, what a start, what a debut for the 222 of Grant Heck to start off his cadet career. Puts himself on the pole position. Quick break from the action. When we return, Senior Light gets ready to qualify.
Hey, what's up, Caleb?
What's up, Brandon?
You sound defeated. Long day at the office?
Yeah, got stuck at a cat food marketing meeting for like 3 hours. I don't know a thing about cat food, and I don't even work in marketing. And then I got sent on a coffee run like I was some sort of intern. Then at the end of the day, when I want to go get gas, I just realized everything is so darn expensive nowadays, man.
Yeah, you got that right.
Like, do you have any idea how much we're spending on Netflix?
That's like $20 a month.
Do you know how much we're spending on cable?
That's like $50 a month.
But you know what isn't expensive?
Tell me.
Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all the American karting action live from coast to coast. Subscribe and become a member today.
Kart South is proud to present one of our newest sponsors, Big B Energy Drinks. Say goodbye to energy drinks that taste like chemicals. Here's an energy drink that tastes like a reward. Thoughtfully crafted, masterfully mixed. Strawberry smash. Sweet, bold, delicious. Summer melon. Refreshing, smooth, white cherry fizz. Crisp, clean, rewarding. 3 flavors designed for people who refuse to compromise on taste. No artificial colors. Just real flavor backed by the caffeine you need to go the distance. Order at BigBeEnergy.com. Subscribe and save, and have your energy drinks delivered monthly straight to your door.
Welcome back to Jacksonville, Florida for the CKNA Winter Nationals. Seen already a couple of sessions hit the racetrack, but it's time for your senior lights, the first of our 3 headline divisions here at Cup Karts North America, the first of the 3 senior classes as well. Again, this group going to be split up into 3, the bottom third, middle third, and top third. Getting set to decide where they're going to start. And again, that first corner there out of the pits, Justin, has been a trouble spot for a lot of these drivers.
Yeah, you think, I'm going to get on the track, keep it simple, hit the gas, we go and do kart things. Sometimes tires decide, no, I don't feel like doing that. Let's not grip up. Cold tires are fun, is what I'm saying. Whether you're in a car, whether you're in the virtual sim, whether in any type of performance racing, cold tires are evil, and you have to warm them up if you want to put down good speed, and that's why the tires pick up so much. And that's really factoring on the pit exit is, you hit the gas, tires just go spin.
Yeah, it's not easy. After the first half a lap, those Vega tires should relatively start to get up to speed, and again, we've seen laps improve throughout the entirety of this session. So, you know, when you look back at the grands, we had the term when you call the money lap, it was lap 2 or 3, usually lap 2. And again, you didn't see much improvement throughout lap 4 because those tires would just get past the window. They would just overheat. But here, again, being that the conditions have been so much colder than we see throughout the year, this has been something different for a lot of these drivers to see or to handle, especially, and they will continue to get up to speed throughout the session. One of the first looks last time when we were watching Cup Karts North America, Dylan Amundsen was over with MGM Karting and then went over to the Texas Sprint Racing Series just after, like about a month and a half after we went to Dallas Karting Complex for the final round. Dylan Amundsen played spoiler to the Texas Sprint Racing Series Championship. On his return to VLR, was able to get the win. And now, making his first national start with the brand, back with TS Racing and VLR karts. He's back with a longtime friend in Colin Warren and looking to get back on the package. When I spoke to him about the move, he said he was comfortable to get back with VLR and ready to try and win some races, ready to try and win his first Cup Karts North America's Grand National Championship in later on in the year in October. But this is not looking good for Dylan. That traffic there, he's going to have to reposition himself as he does. But he puts himself top of the timing charts by a good bit. Only 71 hundredths of a second. 41.847 the time for Dylan right now.
And the interesting thing is, for a majority of the drivers in this group, they're running much quicker than what they were able to do in happy hour yesterday, at least. Been able to find group by at least an extra few tenths, if not a full second, for a vast majority of these drivers. Jake Walsh, in particular, is someone to keep an eye on because he is 7 tenths quicker. So it just shows what some of these teams have done here at Caleb to be able to adjust, be able to get the setup dialed in, and find yourself in a good spot here to have a chance to be up towards the front.
We got a couple of more drivers out there as well. We talk about those new Brava karts that are in the racetrack. nonetheless. So a couple of other drivers. You talk about Jake Walsh, who's up to second. Alexander Zacosilo, currently fourth. Bastien Bouchard, currently third. TJ Gillian and fifth. Ryan Croker with checker flag in the air. Ford MacArthur. Arian Lacherie, eighth, and more. But Dylan Amundsen went fastest over Jake Walsh. About a tenth and a half in between the two. What you gotta think is a 41.762 gonna be enough for Dylan to put himself in the mix in the first heat race. If not, he's gonna be displaced starting further back in the field, and that's gonna be a hill to climb for sure for Dylan throughout the heat race to put himself in contention tomorrow for the main event. And again, when you look at tomorrow's action, we're only going to have warm-up and main events for you. The heat race is going to be 10 laps. The main event's going to be 18 laps. An 8-lap difference, almost 2 heat races stacked up on top of each other, if you will. But here goes that second group. It looks like it's going to be led by 2 young ladies, Cameron Reed with Reed Motorsports and Jordan Klein with PPK Coyote this weekend. So those 2 drivers are going to be the first 2 to lead them out. Looks like Carter Kogo just right behind them as well. And a good number of names as well all throughout this field here, Justin. But a couple of familiar faces here in this mid-pack, the middle third, as they get set to go out with a 2-minute mark in the air. Cameron Reed, the first driver out onto the racetrack, the Racing Cajun. First to lead him out with Jordan Klein just right behind her. Then again, I believe you go back to Carter Kogo and a couple of more. But the biggest question, Justin, we mentioned it just before we went quiet on the airwaves. Dylan Amundsen, with only a 41.762, was only able to go a tenth and a half better than Jake Walsh in the 26. Is that going to be enough for Dylan to hold on to a decent starting spot, really, when you get in a heat race number 1, trying to put himself in contention early? Again, already for the 2 ladies up front, for Cameron Reed, for Jordan Klein, they're split by a good bit. It's like the likes of Will Lawler in this one as well. Lindstorm, Beckman. Not sure if that was Wheeler populating up to the top or not, but again, a couple of more. I believe Wheeler in that second group with Kleiss and more, but here we go. Samuel Doru's in this one as well. So good number of drivers, good number of names familiar to pretty much all around the nation. When you talk about CKNA, we talk about TSRS as well for us. A couple of 2 prominent 4-cycle racing series that we see throughout the year. But here we go. First couple of laps, Justin. And again, a little bit different already, right, to start this session off. Drivers not as close as we saw in the previous.
And not too many gaggles of cards to be able to draft together. It hasn't been too much gamesmanship in that retrospect, I think. Might have some a little bit for some of the others, like Kilgo, seem to be grouped together right here. You see, in fact, indeed packed up. But was about to say here, it's going to be an interesting time, I think, for a Munson, because for the 136, I should rather say, because the time compared to yesterday would only put it 21st, which is the key thing. But it's a different day. It's a different atmosphere. We've seen a lot of the times that you wouldn't expect stay up throughout these sessions today. Kilgo, top of the board, though.
And there's already a lot of change there. Carter Kilgo to the top. Stanton already. Jordan Klein, the 716. She's the third. Amundsen's already starting to fall back. He's down in fourth. To Beckman, to Cleese, Reed, Miller, Callahan, and Strong. Everybody changing. Will Lawler was passed quite easily there by Carter Kilgo. And Lawler's down in 12th. That's one of the names that we talked about a little bit last year, I believe. Was even one of the drivers that finished on the podium, or close to it, if you will. Finished third in senior light. So, again, finished third in this class, and now with the white flag in the air, Will finds himself down in 12th here, Justin. And we still have a whole other group to go. But for Jordan Klein, again, you talk about her. She was in the LCQ last year, had to race her way into the main event. And now for Jordan Klein, the 716, she puts herself fastest overall over Ryan Stanton, Ronnie Cleese. And again, final time around, final couple of corners here. This last long right-hander for Jordan Klein. We'll see if anybody's able to improve and go better. Cameron Reed, first to get the checkered flag. And you see Jordan just closing in perfectly on Cameron Reed. Reed up to third. Klein improves, though, a 41.153. And there's Will Lawler, able to close down that gap. That was, have to hold your breath there for Will Lawler in the number 10 to get the draft. And you saw that change there as well, right, Justin? The pass from Kilgo then allowed Lawler to get the draft, be in that drafting range, get himself up to second, with more changes coming through with Miller now up to fourth, Ronnie Cleese, Carter Kilgo, Reed, Callahan, Jaden Beckman, and Dylan Amundsen, who fell back to 10th. 9 drivers were able to go faster, in a 6/10 difference between Amundsen and Jordan Klein. So again, you got to scratch your head here a little bit for the 136.
Yeah, just not where I think Amundsen needs to be at all. Potentially for the weekend, it's going to be a rough time to be able to battle the heat races as a result here. Even when you factor in our group, like going to shuffle back yet again with how things go. But curious in particular how this third group gets ready to fare on in particular, because for those who watched Apex South a couple weeks ago, there was one driver to beat when it came to this type of racing. Henry Wheeler. He's once again carrying the momentum again now into the new year. Was the quickest in happy hour by a few 1,000ths of a second. He's going to be one to watch for when we get to this next group.
Well, it's time to go qualifying with the fastest group. Henry Wheeler in the number 0 for Mark Steele on the Stealth machine. Gets ready to lead them out with Derek Wargo just right behind him from the looks of it. And a couple of more as well. Again, a good start to the weekend for Henry Wheeler on his return here to Jacksonville. And we'll see how he gets going. First couple laps already underway. Isaac Malquit, the driver just right behind him in third. Again, he made the move up early last year into the senior ranks. Senior light was the youngest in the field. Again, second year already with a year of experience under his belt. This was actually the first race that he did in the senior ranks. Did Daytona Kart Week, did this, and then we saw him out in Charlotte, which was third round, but a year under his belt of experience for Isaac Malquit. We'll see how he gets going in his sort of his sophomore campaign in the class.
Going to be interesting, to say the very least, now that you have a year of experience in the class with different competitors with the slide, but also just with how do you fare out with your respective competitors here. Already jumping up fourth. Kind of sets a good tone, though, if you're the 75 amongst this pack. But you also have a lot of others. Colin Moore in particular is also going to be in this group to fare out also. It's going to be an interesting pack, though. Up at the front, your top 3 contenders for Happy Hour, just about all grouped together, and if anything, Wargo might be in a position here where it has to time up a run, get something going compared to Malkovich, who still is hoping to get a whiff of that draft.
Yeah, you look back at last year here in senior light, Christopher McKeithen was the driver that was able to capitalize on the win. And here we go. Here are the changes. Isaac Malquit's up to the top of the timing charts. Still Jordan Klein, though, holding on a second. That could be huge for Jordan as well. Derek Wargo to third. Lawler to Stanton Tutwiler, making his debut in the senior ranks. McKeithen there, last year's winner, puts himself up to fourth in a 19 PPK Coyote. Again, not many changes. Here's that second group. Owen Lloyd, Colin Warren, working quite well together. The VLR and the South Georgia Karting MGM.
Right now, coming around to the final lap there. Not a surprise to see Colin Warren out the front, is it not here, Gil? Because he's been so good at the Grands for so many years. So far, looking solid at Christopher McKeithen, who barely made this group in Happy Hour, and the driver who won in Grands this year, getting a huge boost behind these two.
Yeah, here we go. And it looks like that group further up as well of Isaac Malquit, as well as Henry Wheeler and Derek Wargo, they're just a little bit too close together, and I think they're starting to battle a little bit for position even to try and get it figured out. But with the checkered flag in the air, Colin Warren going to improve on his final time around. Christopher McKeithen, looks like he wasn't able to go any better. Isaac Malquit, as we're waiting now, a couple of more changes. Getz, Tutwiler up to 9th. So no changes. Colin Warren, right place, right time, just right behind Owen Lloyd. And you look at the difference, right? Colin Warren right behind Owen Lloyd. Warren to the top, Lloyd in 8th. That's it. Colin Warren going to take the pole over Christopher McKeithen, Isaac Malquit, Jordan Klein, Derek Wargo, Reddy, Getz, Lloyd, Tutwiler, and Will Lawler, your top 10 at the end of the session. Quick commercial break, quick pause from the action. When we return, Sportsman, get ready to qualify.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today.
2026 Cup Kart South Series, February 20th through 22nd at Finish Line Karting. March 20th through 22nd at Daytona International Speedway. April 24th through 26th at Music City Karting. And May 29th through 31st at Bushnell Motorsports Park.
The first half of our sportsmen's get ready to hit the racetrack as they work their way out. I believe a late split in this class. Going to have 2 groups going out. Same can be said for our masters and our senior medium. So only 3 classes remain for the end of our free coverage for the day. Again, for those of you at home wanting to watch the little ones race or a friend race later on in the day, don't forget to become a KC Premium member for only $9.99 a month. And you can watch all the racing action live throughout the day. We'll be live until 8:30 p.m. tonight. And myself and Justin will be more than happy for you to join us and watch these kiddos go at it as well. So we'll work our way through. Decker, the first one out there. Carosas to Clay. Gaffo, Bowden, Enzo, Hemphill, Gonzalez, Casey, Yusuf Adi, another one of those as well, or just Adi. My apologies. Both Stowers, Firestein, Brewster, Mikey Todd, and Thompson. The drivers that we'll see throughout this session. Currently the bottom half works our way out for 4 laps total here, Justin.
Yeah, it's going to be, again, for these drivers, where do they settle down as these times fly on through? Keep in mind, Jackson Brewster happened the quickest in the happy hour. Mentioned his experience, one of the local drivers, but I'm also curious in particular, Ryder Thompson, who is the CKNA self-champion from previous season. Going to be carrying a lot of momentum into this weekend here to be able to contend up at the front. Was 3rd quickest on the stopwatch when it came to the happy hour yesterday. But it looks like things split up yet again. We had 16 entries after all. Camden Clay. Right now you see top of the board though was towards the bottom of the pylon actually. Yesterday showing some good improvement compared to yesterday's average times with the single kart speed to be able to showcase a good spot here early.
Yeah, here we go. Gaffo able to go up to first. Clay up to second. Carosas currently third. Casey to Cole Decker. Aiken Bowden. Jack Enzel. Anderson Hemphill 8th. Not much change. Hemphill will be in that second half of the group as they work their way through. Here are the times, though, as they come in. Carosas able to improve at 42.937. Clay goes better, up to second. So Gaffo now going to fall back to third. And again, that's just a 10th swing in the matter of a lap for those 3 drivers. That's the change that we're seeing here at the moment, Justin.
Indeed, and was just chatting during the break. Message over to Bonner Krug about how things are going up for him side. And one of the main things you mentioned that's important here is we talked about the draft dependency here. Belt single card speed does not that matter much in the course of the race, but when it comes to qualifying, you just have to settle with where the cards may fly, as we've seen so far in the weekend. For Clay, able to put together some good pace here, but here's the thing: 0.6 off of what the top times were yesterday. Still going to be decent track position for most of these drivers, but the second half of the group is going to have a really good opportunity to be able to try and line up in the top 5 here coming up.
Well, you saw the difference there between Martinez Carrozas, and again, he was able to put himself within drafting range of Cole Decker as they worked their way on that back straightaway. So that played to his benefit. But Camden Clay was able to just get the better of Carrozas. We'll see. Still the top half getting set to go. Well, here we go, top half. It's ready to qualify. And again, it all starts with Anderson Hempfield, Tanner Gonzalez, Jack Casey, Yusuf Hadi, who I believe was one of the drivers that found himself on the podium throughout one of the cadet categories throughout the year. And I believe indeed it was in the cadet class. So making his sportsman debut here this weekend. We'll see how Yusuf gets on. Just a little bit more speed. Likes of Firestein in this one as well. Brewster, Mikey Todd, and Thompson. 16 drivers total, with the pole position still up for grabs. Currently held by Camden Clay with a 42.855 in that bottom half group.
As I said, I don't know if that time's going to hold out for Brewster. Keep in mind, this is essentially a home race for him. Has made multiple appearances at the North Florida Kart Club over the past couple of years. He's also someone we've seen many times in CKNA competition make the pole position, especially in the South region. So Brewster absolutely, I think, has the ability to set another pole time, get to the top of the board, get something done here already. How about that? It took only one lap. He's already outscored everybody else. Thompson keeping up with him. Hemphill to the top.
And already a lot of change there. You saw the 63 of Yusuf Adi just go right by our screens on that Burrell Art machine. But again, both Stowers as quickly as that. You talk about Hemphill going to the top. Both Stowers as quickly as that on the 121. Able to improve. Here's the rest of the group. That's the 904 of Thompson. Right behind him is Hemphill. And more. This is already, it's looking like one of those qualifying sessions, Justin, that's going to just keep us on our toes from start to finish.
Don't sleep on Stowers either, because he came off a strong run in Apex Karting to start off that series history with a win over there at NOAA. So it looks like he's just continuing the speed from the last time out in this type of category to be able to streak to the top here in this back and forth for the top of the board here. Hemphill still picks up some draft, though, it seems, compared to some of the others, such as Stowers, that's having to do this as someone with a little bit more room to stretch and maybe close up to the rear end of the cart in front if it works.
Here we go, 2 more laps. The 6 drivers in the mix. I believe Mikey Todd's the other one that's out there, but he's only down in 10th in the 299. As we have change up front, Anderson Hemphill, both Stowers continuing to change. There goes Stowers across the line, no improvement on lap number 3. White flag in the air now for these 7 drivers. They're out on the racetrack. Yusuf Adi hasn't made too much headway. Just no draft for Yusuf, unfortunately. He's down in 6th. Ryder Thompson's in 5th. Jackson Brewster set a personal best on lap number 3, but we'll see how it stacks up here. Hemphill, both Stowers, the 2 drivers we have an eye on, going back and forth. I believe Hemphill going to be the first across the line. Here comes Adi across the line. No improvement for Yusuf. Next for Hemphill. Doesn't improve either. Both Stowers. Could he take the pole position from Hemphill across the line last time around? No improvement for Bo. Anderson Hemphill on the pole position in Sportsman.
How about that? Once again, drafting partners being very pivotal. Hemphill was a little bit closer to his partner, helped out in the later stages to be able to put together the lap. As we've done at the very end of that session. You also throw in the mix Tanner Gonzalez, though, able to throw himself into the hat, just a 10th off the pole time. Going to be interesting how the races fare out for a couple of those at the bottom of the board.
A couple of no starts. Looks like Fire C not with us here this weekend. Same for one more driver there. But again, only 2 more qualifying sessions on the day. Only 2 more sessions, really, till the end of our free coverage here on the Friday of Cup Karts North America Winter Nationals action from Jacksonville, Florida. Well, welcome back. It's time to go qualifying here in our Masters class. And I get a good showing throughout pretty much all classes. Everybody within the double digits. The Masters, 12 drivers total here with us. Likes of Ron Kleiss, Todd Barron, Kevin Medeiros, Ryan Curtin, Josh Smoker, James Insko, Brad Davis, Paul Aiken, Curtis Dockin, Jamie Bradford with Bradford Racing, MGM, Michael Clark, and Vinny Carollo. The 12 drivers are getting set to take the green flag here as we get going. Looks like James Insko in this second group. Kleiss as well, Michael Clark, Todd Barron, Dan Kite, Josh Smoker, and more. Look to be what could be a 6-6 split for this qualifying session, but we'll see how they all stack up. And this is, again, a lot different than what we saw earlier already, Justin. A lot of separation throughout everybody in this field. So when you talk about draft, it's just a matter of setting a good lap on your own. That's what's going to matter here.
Yeah, for a lot of these drivers, it's going to be quite simply, can you set a good time on your own? Do you have a good rhythm set for the racetrack? Do you know your marks for the racetrack? Keep in mind, this is actually arguably one of the closest overall average pace classes from the happy hours. We've seen spreads up to 2 seconds, Caleb, from yesterday's practices for the end of the sessions. This class, except for Vinny Carollo, stayed within half a second of each other. So arguably, we might see some very close racing today for the Masters in particular. And that's going to mean all the more importance to figure out where you're going to be so you are prepared for when things potentially swap around a fair bit. Here we go, and as drivers try and settle themselves in.
There we go. That's, again, that's just minimal difference, right? The matter of a couple of corners in between these drivers, that's almost nothing. Pretty much the majority of them. But with lap 2 already in the books, Ron Kleiss currently at 42.50 to Clark in the 717. Michael Clark, that is. Just 42.791. About 2 tenths back to 4 tenths back to Insko. Smoker's down a half a second. Carollo's down to about a second. But yeah, nobody's improved. White flag will fly this time. And Ron Kleiss still fastest, but he's not improving. Michael Clark did, though, in the 717. Just went a little bit better, was able to get ahead. James Insko still in third. So this is, again, that was one and done almost from what it looks like from Ron Kleiss. He's had a good lap on the first time around and hasn't been faster than that lap since.
Yeah, I don't know what it is for his sake. Just didn't get the time in right for the way the tires were. I'm not quite sure. Insko also kind of the same way I've noticed here, but as they come to the checkered flag here for their half of the group, looks like for the most part that 9 machine's time able to still stick. That's the important thing. And that time would put him in the top 5 if the qualifying and crossed over from happy hour times. So Kleiss in particular, good tone set for him for the Masters.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good start for Ron Kleiss, a 42.500. And again, he has to stack up in a good spot because you still have the likes of Todd Barron, who's been who's been one of the fastest drivers in Masters. Dan Kite as well. Medeiros, Curtin, and Brad Davis, and a couple of more that are getting ready to hit the racetrack. But Ron Kleiss at 42.5, the time to beat. Welcome back. The second half gets ready to hit the racetrack. Jamie Bradford going to lead him out on his MGM machine for Bradford Racing. Likes of Todd Barron in this mix as well. Kite, Medeiros, Curtin, Davis, Hagan, and Bradford. Drivers getting set to hit the racetrack. We'll see how they stack up. Jamie Bradford again. When you look back to the Grand Nationals, back at his home track, if you will, for him, whenever he took part of the Masters class, put himself P6 just outside of the podium, one spot down from it, if you will, P6 for Jamie. And looking to start off the year on a high, looking to get himself back to winning ways here in Jacksonville, Florida. Long haul for them over at Bradford Racing to make the trip down from almost Newcastle, Indiana, down here to Jacksonville, Florida.
Just have to make your way through a lot of mountainous terrain when you go through upstate. Because, listen, when I was younger, I know this is going to be off tangent, it was made the drive all the way from Michigan up through Tennessee. That's at least half the drive to Florida in a month itself. You're talking about having to go through the Smoky Mountains. You're talking about having to go through Kentucky, which is a trek of its own, to say the very least, to go to the Bluegrass State. It's a drive that features a lot of elevation change. It even goes through, it feels like a desert in Tennessee if you follow some of the interstates. So it does take a fair bit of time to get down there. You're talking about in your day just to go that distance up from Indiana all the way up to Florida here in terms of distance. It's a long trek. It's a long road trip to bring your go-kart.
Yeah, and I got to say here, Justin, for a Canadian, you got a good grip on American geography, so a lot of respect for you for knowing that much. That being said, though, back onto the on-track action, along with the 499 of Paul Aiken there, finds himself now moving up to third on lap number 2. Brad Davis in the 181 gets himself up into the fourth spot. Michael Clark, again, was one of the faster drivers, really second fastest in that bottom half group. He's down in fifth, but here comes more change. The 37 of Curtin, now up to third. Ron Kleiss, his time's able to hold on over Jamie Bradford, who's given it all he's got to try and gain a 10th and go better than number 9, who qualified in the slow group here.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to stay up here for Kleiss, but I think it's a strong chance with how things are going here. Just seeming like some of the drivers are hitting that ceiling that's so difficult to pass with the white flag already waving here. But right now the question's going to be, will anybody be able to get higher than a 5? They did it yesterday with draft, and most of your top drivers yesterday do not have dancing partners. Ryan Curtin just got it though.
That's a great lap out of Ryan Curtin. Jamie Bradford going to need a big improvement. He was just about 25 hundredths of a second away from Ron Kleiss before Curtin was able to go faster. We'll see Bradford. He's going to be one of the first ones, the first, to cross the line on the 622 MGM. Wait for him to cross. He goes through, no improvement. Davis doesn't improve either. Ryan Curtin on his final time, he's getting that little bit of a draft, but did he get held up on the second to last corner? He's shaking the head, doesn't like it, even though it was enough on lap number 3. The 37 of Ryan Curtin puts it on the pole position in Masters.
CKNA North driver able to get it done over Kleiss. Bradford there inside the top 3. Davis and Aiken amongst the top 5. But interesting enough, Insco falls behind Clark in the running order. Todd Barron, 10th in this pack.
Wow. Quick commercial break from the action. We'll step away. When we come back, the last of our headline classes, senior medium, gets set to qualify. And after that, we're straight into the racing action. Actually, lunch break, and then straight into the racing action. Quick word from our sponsors when we return. The last qualifying session of the day.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
Cup Kart South's newest sponsor is here, Big B Energy Drinks. Every moment is an opportunity to be bold, be present, and be big. 3 bold flavors: strawberry smash, summer melon, white cherry fizz. With clean ingredients, no artificial colors. A powerhouse of B vitamins, and the energy that actually tastes like a reward. Purchase yours today at bigbenergy.com. Subscribe and save for a discounted rate, and have your drinks delivered monthly straight to your door.
Welcome to the 2026 Cup Kart South Series, the South's premier 4-cycle championship. 4 race weekends, 4 iconic facilities. February 20th through 22nd at Finish Line Karting. March 20th through 22nd at Daytona International Speedway. April 24th through 26th at Music City Karting. And May 29th through 31st at Bushnell Motorsports Park. From kid kart to legends, every class is represented. This is where talent rises. The grands start here.
This
It's time to go qualifying in senior medium. One of the biggest classes here this weekend. I believe the biggest, or third biggest, 35 drivers total here in senior medium, senior light having 38. My apologies there, but again, a good number. I've made the trip out to Jacksonville, Florida. Take part of the Big Four in the Cup Karts North America National Racing Action. Go to Jacksonville, Florida, then we move over to the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Spring Nationals. The Summer Nationals taking place once again over at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. And then you end the year with the marquee event of the year, the Grand Nationals out at Newcastle Motorsports Park. Gabriel McLeod, a driver who we've seen over in the state of Texas on the factory kart machine, gonna lead this field away with Connor Baker, Zach Osilo, John Young, Bastian Bouchard, Grant Mitchell, Harley Andrews, Owen Mao, and more, Ariane Lacherie, and James Crawford. The list goes on and on of names as well that we do have in here. Wait till they stack up to give them all to you.
Yeah, a lot of competitors, to say the least, and this is where it's going to be absolutely important. If you want any chance to contend, you have to find something. It's been emphasized in a lot of groups, but when you have a pack this big and only so many laps to group up together for your heats, if you want a true shot, you better put up the times now. And for these drivers in this group, they need to put up an extra second compared to yesterday, just on average pace. Looks like Andrews at the top of the board, though. Amongst some of the shuffling we're seeing, John Young is the very tippy top behind Zach Osilo, I should say, who is amongst those who made an appearance at APAC Self competition. Plenty of these drivers make the trek all across the region here, all the way up from the northeast, in fact, and up from Pennsylvania, New York, amongst the top runners in this session so far.
Well, there you go, the 989, Alexander Sakusilo able to get himself to the top. Bouchard currently to second, to Young, Baker, Lacherie. Your top 5 as they stand. You got to work your way a little bit further down. Only 10 drivers out on the racetrack at the moment. The likes of Mitchell in the 671, currently 9th. James Crawford down in 10th. And there was no improvement for the 989 of Zach Castillo there, and that prompted the 918 of John Young up to the provisional pool, 42.308. McLeod in 3rd, Bouchard, Andrews, Mitchell to 6th. So there's been improvement, steady improvement for about every driver in this field. There's John Young. Follow him along for his final lap, final couple of corners here, Justin.
Take a look at the line in particular here, just keeping it smooth. See some of the drivers to make their way down the front straight away. It's also about getting an angle right for the quick kink up to the start and finish line. A lot of these drivers avoiding the curbs in this group, trying to make sure they don't shuffle the cart all too much and bog down a bit of speed with this momentum-based machine. Looks like Young's time does stay upright though, with the 3rd lap being the best lap.
And there you go, no improvement for John Young in the 918, 42.308. You'll hope that that can stick for a okay starting spot throughout the heat races. That being said, though, just a quick look. A lunch break will be coming our way at 11:45. Or was scheduled for 11:45. That's going to be a little bit later than that. We will return with racing action after the next 2 groups of senior medium at 12:30. Start of the first heat race, 10-lap heat race for our kid karts at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. That being said, we wait for the middle group to get set to hit the racetrack. Time for the middle third to get set to qualify, and they're flat out by the reigning junior Grand National champion Sam Tutwiler, who's leading them out onto the racetrack. The number 9 getting ready to go out. Derek Wargo is also just a couple of karts back. That being said, we'll keep an eye on what Sam Tutwiler can do on debut on his first showing, really, in the senior ranks. Again, time to beat here, 42.308.
Yeah, and keep in mind, too, you have a couple of big names that we've seen for the Grands and from this class in general in the past couple weeks across the region. You talk about Henry Wheeler. He's also a part of this class. He was only 20th best in final practice / the happy hour. Eli Warren, who was contender last year with Colin Warren, in the Grands over at Newcastle, also a part of this group. So a few different surprises here. They're looking to see if they can outperform what they were able to do in practice, to say the very least. And it looks like some of these drivers are able to get some good packs here. In particular, Wargo has a solid amount of draft potential, and with how things are looking already top of the board, and by doing so, 3/10.
And there's going to be a lot of change in this session as well. You look at Brady Atwood already going to the top. Derek Wargo, Kilgo up to 4th. Henry Wheeler to 3rd. John Young, Ryan Stanton, Anthony Lewis, Logan Stevens, Zach Uzzilo. This is a stacked second group, if you will, here, Justin. Look, Henry Wheeler in that one as well. Eli Warren slowing, and I think he's just wanting to create a little bit more of a gap. That is if he doesn't have an issue, but he is slowing. Eli Warren going very slow as he works his way onto the first couple of corners. That could be an issue for Eli, who, again, ended the year off on a high last year with 2 podiums. Went out to the GR Cup combine that they had for the drivers. And I think that's just going to end it early. Yeah, hand it in the air for Eli Warren. He's going to be out of this session early, Justin. Wow.
Absolutely killer. 22nd on the board, likely going to be dead last by the time things shuffle out. Absolute disaster unless he's able to find some way to pick it up. We'll see if he peels down this time after letting all the carts go. The answer is he will at least keep it on the track. I'm surprised he kept on the track there.
Now, white flag's in the air. Derek Wargo is currently the fastest in the 78 Tillotson. Brady Atwood's in second. Andy Lewis, Henry Wheeler, Sam Tutwiler, your top 5. And this move here for Henry Wheeler going to give him a little bit of breathing room when you get to these last couple of corners. 22 is the driver just right behind him, and that's Warm down in 16. Checkered flag in the air. Lewis goes up to 2nd. Atwood drops to 3rd. Wargo doesn't improve. We'll see what Wheeler can do. Final time around. Again, he had to make it past this lap. Can Wheeler go better? He can, but it's not enough to even move positions. Only 4th, 5th for Sam Tutwiler. With a whole nother group getting set to hit the racetrack. You talk about the likes of Colin Warren, Dylan Amundsen, and more still yet to hit the track, Justin.
Yeah, this next group, a lot of heavy hitters here, but Wargo, I think, setting a decent benchmark that at least potentially get a top 10, if not top 8, I think, with how rapid the 78 pole was in the draft. But we've seen our words be tested already, just with the matter of where these packs actually sort out after the initial separation, and some of these drivers have been trying to find a way to gravitate towards one another as fast as possible to have any chance to make sure they get some good tandems.
Well, here we go, the top third of senior mediums. Get ready to see who's going to take the pole position for the first of their 3 heat races after the lunch break. Colin Warren going to lead them out. It's a VLR 1-2 with Dylan Amundsen just right behind him. It looks like Christopher Wakefield is the driver that's in third. Sorry, that's McKeith in there in the 19. That finds himself in that third spot. But again, all to play for here, Justin, with 4 laps. The first one getting ready to come up to full song.
And we know how quick Colin Warren was earlier in the lights after he picked up some draft. Going to be much more different this time. Had the fastest time of the warm-up session. Your reward for that? You don't have a chance for a drafting partner per se unless you immediately sacrifice all the time on the racetrack. We'll see how the 136 is able to recover after that light session, though, who struggled, remembering time was much better in this class yesterday in the warm-up session as well. Keep in mind, you throw in some of the mix. Jordan Klein, she was fast earlier on. This is going to be important for a lot of drivers to find some groupings quickly here. It's the first times now fly up.
Yeah, and this is perfect for the 2 drivers up front. I think more so for Dylan Amundsen, who's in that second spot, than Colin Warren. And again, Colin being a race winner at this track here in Cup Karts North America action, how long is he going to want to tow around Dylan for? Again, Dylan's really the only one that's benefiting from the draft. And again, we've seen that be such a big factor already throughout the weekend. We'll see how it plays out, though. Dylan finds himself in 6th. Colin Warren, you got to look down to 16th to find Colin. And again, it's only the first lap. Here we go. Next time around, as easy as that. 2nd and 3rd for the 2. Dylan Amundsen is 2nd, Colin Warren a 3rd. But Derek Wargo, after 2 laps, still has a 2/10 gap over arguably the best driver in Cup Karts North America history and one of the best. And Dylan Amundsen is now Owen Lloyd in the 119, gets himself up to 2nd. Austin Speck to 3rd. So the shuffling continues here, but Derek Wargo, through it all, holds on to the pole position here by over a 1/10 and a half here, Justin. And Jordan Klein up to 11th. Jordan Klein up to 11th. No improvement. See if anybody else can go better. Eli Fox, one of the drivers crossing the line now. Fox is up only to 8th. Shane Reddy doesn't improve, but Owen Lloyd takes the pole position, and Derek Wargo out of the middle 3rd, able to get himself to 2nd to start on the front row and even the pole position for 1 or 2 of the heat races. Speck finishes in 3rd to Warren. Hill, your top 5. What a session here, and it kept us on the edge of our seats throughout it all. Owen Lloyd going to start on the pole position later on today, Justin.
An impressive drive to start off the day for Lloyd, but it's also going to be interesting, in particular for Austin Speck. Was able to shine brightly after being outside the top 10 in the warm-ups yesterday or around the happy hour. A lot of drivers ready to prove themselves in this big field, but some big names bit down further in the order, like Wheeler, like Reddy, like Kilgo, and many others who are just going to be able to just hold on to the top 20 at least.
Yeah, well, here we go. That's it for the free coverage. That's it for qualifying. It's time to go racing. It's time to go behind the paywall. Don't forget to join us, only $9.99 a month, and you can watch all the racing action live. For myself, Caleb Vieska, from Justin Prince, we'll see you at about 12:30 p.m. Eastern to go racing.